You know, I'm about to stray a little bit from my lane here and talk not just about politics, but about theology. And what inspired me to do this is a piece in the Huffington Post by Reverend Richard Brand, who I do not know anything about. And the headline is Trump gives evidence of being an atheist, question mark. And okay, Reverend Brand, who seems to be a good guy, by the way. I mean, I'm pretty clear just from these few words that he is a good guy. He says, you know, President Trump made a great effort to attract the evangelical Christian community, which you know he has, and he seems to have succeeded. But it appears the evidence suggests that he is really an atheist. Now we could talk about that. Would have a lot to say about that. But he says, A, he shows absolutely no knowledge of the Bible. B, when he went to the National Day of Prayer, all he could talk about was his former TV show. C, he has not attended worship since he has been in the White House, nor has he attended services in Florida. D, but most obviously he does not believe in heaven or a final judgment as described in the New Testament, as his budget is a complete attack on all the things that Jesus suggested will get you into heaven. Now, that's an excellent point. That certainly does not seem to be Christian type behavior if you believe in the literality of the New Testament. Then he goes on to say Martin Luther, the German Luther of the Reformation, said that atheists were often closer to God than those who professed faith. So I'm not suggesting anything negative about being an atheist. I'm suggesting that one who has pretended to be such a devout Christian as Trump needs to be called out for what he really is. Now, I think he sort of demonizes, although he tries not to, atheism. But I also think I've had my run-ins with the so-called new atheists. I've had running conflicts with Sam Harris and other people, but I will tell you this, atheists are by and large rational people, even the ones who hold views I dislike, as Harris does about Muslims or about intolerance and so on. I mean, Harris had some horrible ideas. Dawkins has some terrible ideas. Hitchens, the late Christopher Hitchens, had some terrible ideas, but these were largely people who were not, with possible exception of Hitchens, not out of their minds. And so I don't think it's right to suggest that Trump is an atheist. Now, I do think he's not what he claims to be when he says he's a Christian. You know, he's very popular in the evangelical community. Without the evangelical community, he would not have won. But whenever he talks, look, I've been around evangelicals. You know, I spent some of my childhood around them, and you should know when a guy is not part of that community. This is a guy who regularly tells crowds that his own memoir is only his second favorite book, and his first is the Bible. But when he's asked to name his favorite verse, this is what struck me a long time. This is when I realized that he's not part of that community. What's your favorite verse? Which is something every Christian can answer, as far as I know. I wouldn't want to get into it, he said, because to me that's very personal. The Bible means a lot to me, but I don't want to get into specifics. And so the questioner said, well, would you prefer the New or Old Testament? Probably equal. I think it's just incredible. In other words, the guy's a BS artist. He doesn't know what he's talking about. I know that religion is the belief in things unseen. Faith is the belief in things unseen. But there is no sign of religiosity in Donald Trump. You're just letting yourself believe what you want to believe. So let's face it, this guy is not what he claims to be, even religiously.